Ils ont été plus rapides que moi, les connards. Ils ont été plus rapides que moi, les Anglais. En même temps, normal. Ils sont... ouais. Du coup, est-ce que c'est lancé? Oui. Eh bien, bonjour tout le monde, c'est Coupa et aujourd'hui on se retrouve pour un tout nouveau let's play sur Stanley Parable. Quand je démarre ce stream, il est 18h13. Ça fait 13 minutes que le jeu est sorti. Et du coup, avec l'installation et tout, vous comprenez que ça a dû prendre un peu de temps. Du coup, attendez quelques instants. Je mets juste la miniature et la description. Oh. Attends, quoi? Tant pis, j'ai pas lu. Veuillez ce nom, bah français. Hein. Ah non, ok. Ok, 2 secondes, Ok. Juste, je prends ça, voilà. Description. Et ça glisse. Avez-vous déjà joué à Stanley Parable? J'allais le faire un jour, hein, bien avant qu'on ait la date de sortie, j'allais m'y mettre à Stanley Parable, j'allais le faire en let's play. Salut Ralsei. Malheureusement, non, mais j'ai envie de mettre oui. De toute façon, je mettrai oui quand je jouerai sur ma partie perso, alors c'est pas grave. Juste pour voir la différence, comme ça au prochain stream, je vous dirai s'il y a une différence, si vous dites oui ou non. Et je vous dirai quelles sont les différences, évidemment. Donc là, on va dire non, ce qui est totalement vrai. Déplacer le curseur. On va se mettre la lumière à fond, parce que... Allez. Entrer l'heure actuelle. Oh putain. Ah, carrément, on est 4. Ok, 6. On va mettre... Bon, il est 18h15, mais on va mettre 16 parce qu'on sait jamais, hein, après tout. Voilà. Remarque, les paramètres d'accessibilité sont accessibles depuis le menu principal. J'aurais dû me mettre complètement dans le noir. Tant pis. Bon, je me demande qui sont les autres personnes, à part toi et moi, Alsaï, mais bienvenue à vous. Puis si la chaîne vous plaît et ce stream, abonnez-vous. Vous jouez à Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Bon, le jeu original sorti en 2013, c'est la même chose, sauf qu'on a un peu plus de trucs en bas à gauche. Donc attendez, paramètres, on va regarder. Bah là je vais laisser comme ça, hein, parce que ça m'a l'air un peu parfait. Je sais pas. Ça on va laisser au max. À quoi que le nom. On va quand même baisser quelques trucs parce que... Bon, peut-être pas le volume principal quand même. On va au moins le mettre à 50. Bon, ok, 75. Effet sonore 75. Et la musique 75. Et la voix du narrateur va... Alors, commande s'accroupir à 2. Très bien. Appliquer. Allez. Et nous allons enfin démarrer ce fameux let's play que j'attendais depuis longtemps sur Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Oui. La fin n'est jamais la fin. N'est jamais vraiment la fin plutôt. C'est littéralement le slogan du jeu original de 2013. Et du coup celui-là.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day, every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-winning, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley
était heureux. Et s'il est heureux,
And
c'est
then
vraiment
one
ce qui
day,
compte le...
something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley.
Et le
Something he would
joueur
never
aussi.
quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him
Parlez sur le stream.
instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This
Parlez sur le
complete
stream.
isolation.
J'ai pas envie d'être seul.
Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Bon, alors je vais vous expliquer le jeu. Voilà, je vais mettre pause comme ça en plus il n'y aura pas de musique, ça va être parfait. Le jeu, c'est un jeu qui a littéralement une tonne de fins. Je ne pourrais pas dire combien, mais il en a vraiment un tas. Déjà dans le jeu original, il en avait une tonne. Là, c'est la version ultra deluxe. Apparemment, ils en ont rajouté 6 ou 7. C'est pas dégueulasse, hein. Après, il faudra juste les trouver. Mais déjà, le jeu original est blindé de fins. D'ailleurs, il y a un truc que je regrette, c'est que il y avait un trophée, il y avait un succès à l'époque sur Steam qui disait lance le jeu 5 ans après. Ce qui veut dire t'achètes ton jeu, tu dois attendre 2018. Juste 2 secondes, j'ai regardé si c'est le cas sur mon jeu. Si c'est le cas, normalement vous pouvez m'entendre. Hein. Ah, déjà il y a 12 trophées. Finissez le jeu, test trophy please ignore. Quittez le jeu et relancez-le. Bon, tant pis, je l'ai rasé ce truc là. Non, sérieux, on a supprimé l'option, vous ne pouvez pas sauter. Jouer à Stanley Parable pendant tout un mardi. 8, il n'y a que du 8. Cliquez 5 fois sur la porte 430. Ah non. Ok, donc le truc c'est que à l'époque, sur Steam, en 2013, il y avait un trophée qui disait ne jouez pas à Stanley Parable pendant 5 ans. J'ai retrouvé ce trophée, ce succès. Le trophée s'appelle Va jouer dehors. Là ça me dit pas 5 ans, ça me dit pas 6, ça me dit ne jouez pas à Stanley Parable pendant 10 ans. 10 putains d'années. Je sais. Et il y a aussi terminé Stanley Parable en moins de 4 minutes. Alors, il y a une tonne de fins, du coup, je sais pas laquelle est la plus préférable. Mais il y a un truc que je peux faire. Voilà. C'est une fin. Ça, c'est clairement une fin du jeu. I'm alone. Mais non, tu n'es pas seul, Red Snow. D'ailleurs, salut à toi.
The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy.
C'est horrible.
Waited. Hours passed. Then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do.
Vas-y, je m'accroupis. Plus qu'une question de minutes. Voilà, ça va venir. Et nous avons fait la première fin du jeu. C'était rapide, hein? Et bah voilà, le jeu est fini. Non. La fin n'est jamais la fin. Oh. Eh ben, Ralsei, s'il te plaît, tu pourras me traduire ce que Red Snow dit? S'il te plaît. Parce que mon anglais pue la merde, vraiment. Ça y est, on va vraiment jouer cette fois-ci. Bah, narrateur, pourquoi tu parles pas? Monsieur le narrateur? C'est pas normal ça. Attendez, recommencer le jeu. Ça m'inquiète ça. Pourquoi il parlait pas le narrateur? Après c'est vrai que cette fin là elle est pas conseillée pour être la toute première à faire. Même si on peut, hein, mais quitte à la faire, c'est même au pire tu la fais un peu plus tard. Parce que là t'as un peu niqué le scénario. Donc voilà. Ah non, voilà. Ah bah pareil, j'ai... Hop.
Perhaps he had... Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the trophy?
Oui.
Click a door 5 times? Is that all you think a trophy is worth? No, 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 no. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly
Ça va être
5
très long.
clicks. Now, suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
Ça va être très long. Parce que dans le jeu original, on doit cliquer 430 fois à la porte. On doit toquer 430 fois. Parce que 430. On est à 50 clics. Ça va être très très long, vraiment. Attendez-vous à de la longueur là, parce que ça va être extrêmement long. Je veux que ce trophée ait du sens. Ça doit être l'aboutissement d'un vrai effort. Je veux le voir de la suite.
I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way no matter the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
Je sais pas si je dois lui faire confiance. Il a dit 417, c'est ça? Bon bah on va l'écouter hein. Attendez, il y a quoi là? Ouais, je sais pas, peut-être qu'il y a un succès si on éteint tous les ordis. Pourquoi il n'y a pas d'ordi? Eh. Bon allez, on va le suivre. 417 t'as dit hein? 437. 417, où es-tu? 420. 450. 417. Ah.
Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437.
437 il a dit? Elle est où? Ah non, faut retourner en arrière. Je crois. Hein.
Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so.
415 il a dit? 415 t'es où? 415.
Now, back to door number 437.
Il veut juste me troll pour me dire ah, t'es un pigeon connard. C'est très long. Attends, est-ce qu'on peut courir au moins? J'ai un doute là. Interagir, non on peut pas. Ah c'est le truc emmerdant du jeu ça.
How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy machine.
Elle est où la photocopie?
All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere.
417 il a dit? Vas-y hein.
Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk.
Comment je fais pour sauter? Comment simplifier, se déplacer, interagir? Attends quoi? Putain! Ah l'enfoiré, il sait que c'est dur.
Yes! This is
Yes!
You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416.
Elle est où la 416? 417. Ah la voilà.
We've almost got it.
Deux après!
Machine, do that one again.
C'est un vrai troll ce jeu. Vraiment, le jeu. C'est pour ça que dans la description il y a écrit comme quoi vous êtes le jeu. 430. Attends, merde, elle est où la 430 déjà? 430. Ah oui, voilà.
Yes, we did it.
Trophée obtenu. Cliquez 5 fois sur la porte. 430. Trophée obtenu. Obtenir votre premier trophée. Logique. Et j'ai quand même eu un trophée qui s'appelle vous avez obtenu votre premier trophée. Cherchez pas à comprendre pourquoi. Attendez 2 secondes, j'ai quelques notifs. Voilà, on s'en branle. Yes, allez, on peut continuer le jeu pour de vrai cette fois. On s'occupera des trophées une autre fois s'il le faut. Mais il est con. Ah. Alors voilà, il nous dit d'aller à la porte de gauche. Forcément le joueur va se dire on va à la porte de droite, mais vu que je suis un sacré connard de merde, et ben je vais l'écouter. Comment trouver de nouvelles fins lorsque le bureau n'a pas démissionné? Quel bureau? Allez, on va à la porte de gauche. Désolé, il y avait Larry qui m'a écrit. Allez, on va l'écouter, le narrateur. On va... Ok, bah juste après. Voilà, on va écouter le narrateur, ce qu'il nous dit. Hein. On peut ne pas l'écouter, hein. Mais là, on va quand même le faire.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ah, il est là le bureau du patron. Update. Je pense qu'il y a une erreur. Ouais, sûrement.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret
il va nous le dire.
number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing.
Quel coup de
He
bol!
stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Quel coup de chance, Stanley, t'as réussi à trouver le bon code d'une façon totalement mystérieuse. On t'a jamais aidé, voyons. Non, on va écouter le narrateur. On va aller là. Putain, c'est glauque. On pourrait être dans un jeu d'horreur, là. Hein. C'est affreux. Non, vraiment, Stanley Parable en jeu d'horreur, il serait magnifique tellement il a de fins et de trucs mystérieux comme ça. Vraiment. I am very bad in English. Me too.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though
Il n'y a
he
pas de
felt
VF
more
dans le jeu,
free to
malheureusement.
think for
Il n'y a
himself,
que de l'anglais.
to question the nature
Donc
of
pour
the
ceux qui
job.
demandent,
Why did he feel this now, when for years
voilà,
it had
pour ceux qui
never
demandent, il n'y a
occurred to
que
him?
de l'anglais. Il n'y a pas de
This
VF,
question would not go
malheureusement.
unanswered for long.
En même temps, c'est littéralement la seule VO, c'est la seule version anglaise que
Stanley
j'arrive à
walked straight
supporter.
ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Ok, donc vous pouvez aller là-bas pour vous échapper. On le fera, hein, parce que voilà, il y a plusieurs fins. Ce qui veut dire que même si je vais dans Escape, dans tous les cas, je devrais passer ici à un moment donné. Du coup, mieux vaut suivre le jeu de ce qu'il nous dit et après on commencera à foutre le bordel. Là, on va écouter le jeu.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he
Normalement,
have
ça va
the
s'ouvrir, ça.
strength to
Oui,
find
voilà.
out?
Ah, putain.
Now the
Oula.
monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Attends, 427, c'est où? Ah, on est là. Bon, allez, on se barre. Ah, se barrer.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
C'est vrai que Stanley qui est contrôlé par quelqu'un, c'est impensable. Non mais oh. C'est totalement impensable. Putain. Ah merde, je dois jouer, ok.
But here was the proof.
Oula, là je commence à avoir peur.
Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Oh. Faut pas avoir peur. Ah non, non, mais il y a... En fait, il n'y a rien qui est horrifique dans le jeu. Il n'y a rien d'horrifique. Il y a des fois où tu vas avoir une petite surprise, hein, tu vas un peu sursauter, mais il n'y a rien d'horrifique dans le jeu. Normalement. J'espère qu'ils n'auront pas fait de référence à FNAF.
When at last he found the source of the wound's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do...
Merde, j'ai fait le mauvais choix.
I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say...
Disons... Quoi?
Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stan?
Oh, sa mère!
It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it.
Putain, c'est pas...
Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going. What all this means, I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated. All right, I'm in a good mood. You're going to die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground.
Merde, non, c'était ça.
Inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though. This version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored buttons. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game could be one soul? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death.
Merde, à l'époque on pouvait se suicider.
Because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge, it's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't.
Quoi?
Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately?
Ça vibre tellement sur la
Or will
manette.
you let it go peacefully?
Goodbye, employé 427. Ça vibre tellement, c'est affreux. Ah, la sensation est horrible. Adieu. Adieu. Ouah. Fist up. Oui, j'ai cassé le jeu. Littéralement d'ailleurs. Oh, ça parle du PS Plus, tiens. Et maintenant, je vais pouvoir reprendre le jeu de zéro. Yes. Ah putain, par contre, la vibration, elle est affreuse. Ne jouez jamais sur console. Vraiment, si vous devez jouer à Stanley Parable, faites. Parce qu'au moins, vous n'aurez pas les vibrations. C'est d'ailleurs pour ça que je déteste la plupart du temps. La plupart des jeux, je les déteste sur console. J'adore les jeux, mais je déteste y jouer sur console parce que... Ah. Bon, bah finalement, non. Tant mieux. Yes.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Bah oui,
Stanley
pourquoi?
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Bon, puis on s'en branle. Ça y est, on a fait une erreur. Maintenant...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ça y est, on va commencer à ne plus écouter le jeu. On va le faire
This
par
was
nous-mêmes.
not the
On va
correct
suivre
way to
notre
the
instinct.
meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Bah oui.
Yes, truly a
GG.
room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all. Just
Bah
to
oui,
spend
quand
a
même.
few moments here in this, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
On peut l'écouter, hein. Je dis pas l'inverse. On peut l'écouter. Ah! En fait, ça nous fait juste un giga raccourci. Je sais pas. Je sais quoi. Je vais tout droit. Je l'écoute. De toute façon, il y a plusieurs chemins. Le jeu, il est pas prêt d'être fini là, hein, vraiment. Ouais, allez, on va l'écouter. On va à
And
gauche.
so he
Allez, on va ça.
detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Ok, on doit aller par là. Je sais pas.
Yet
Ah,
there was
non.
not a single
Fils
person
de
near
pute.
either.
Ah, il m'a eu.
Feeling a wave of
Il m'a feinté.
disbelief, Stanley
Pas
decided
grave,
to go
on va aller.
up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
On peut aller voir le truc du boss, mais non.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours.
Je te conseille pour des prochaines vidéos live Chrono Cross. Bah, va falloir qu'il soit en promotion, hein. Et il faudra qu'il y ait une grosse promotion, hein, parce que 20 balles, je vais pas les dépenser pour ça. Hein.
Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations.
Ah, c'est vrai, on va devoir se retaper le même endroit de H24.
Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. But he simply repeated. No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found.
Sinon, tu peux attendre. Aussi, je peux attendre qu'il soit dans le PS Plus.
He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space
On est en train
on
de
a
flotter.
magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid?
Ah,
And then
message
perhaps
retiré.
the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. one he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams,
Ça parle pas de ça en fait.
this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress.
T'expliquerai sur Discord. D'accord. Bah d'accord, ouais.
Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss, I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real.
Oh
I
putain.
must be real, I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Pouf.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Ok, celle-là je m'y attendais pas par contre. Je m'attendais à ce qu'on y retourne avec Stanley, mais là je m'y attendais pas celle-là. Ah oui, c'est parce qu'on meurt. Littéralement, hein. On est vraiment mort. Bah voilà, on est mort.
For just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal.
Oh la pute.
I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Celle-là, cette fin-là, ça pourrait clairement être une... C'est limite la fin que j'aurais pu faire pour la fin du let's play. Parce que clairement, Stanley qui meurt, c'est juste parfait pour s'arrêter sur ça dans le let's play. Malheureusement, on va continuer longtemps. Peut-être même qu'on va s'arrêter quand on sera au deuxième stream. Hein. Peut-être que le jeu va durer que 2 streams, on sait pas.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
Oh bordel. Oh sa mère, là ça devient flippant. C'est inquiétant. Allez, on va à celle de gauche. On a fait les fifous en allant à droite. On va écouter la voix. Mais pas à 100%, faut pas déconner. Bon bah, plus de let's play, fini. Ah non, il y a encore énormément de temps.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Putain, ah, on peut l'ouvrir. Ah. J'ai... Stanley. Attendez 2 secondes, parce que la caméra... Voilà, juste parce que c'est trop long. Voilà, comme ça c'est mieux. Ça devient long là. Ok, je pense que... Ok. Pourquoi pas.
Stepping into his manager's office,
Okay.
Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
C'est vrai que c'est apaisant.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Voilà. Loading, loading. Ah putain, qu'est-ce qu'il est marrant ce jeu. Bah, il parle plus.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Allez, on va ici.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Alors bien sûr, on peut retourner en arrière si on a envie, mais vu que ça nous fait notre fin si on va là,
The door behind him was not shut.
c'est bien pour nous dire qu'on peut revenir sur nos pas. Hein. Attends, j'ai envie de... T'as déjà fait FNAF Sécurité Boy? J'ai jamais joué à un FNAF de ma vie, je le ferai jamais tellement j'ai peur. Attends, juste pour voir qu'est-ce qui se passe si je retourne en arrière. Je sais pas, peut-être qu'il y aura un nouveau dialogue, hein, après tout.
But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for.
Fils de pute. Espèce d'enfoiré.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What
Allez, on va
horrible
refaire tout
secret
ça.
did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Même si je serais là, je ne jouerai jamais à un FNAF, j'ai trop peur. Même regarder des let's play, j'ai peur.
Their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true.
Faut que je réécoute quand on sera dans l'autre salle ce qu'il va dire.
Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control.
Jamais.
Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life.
Ok, on avait fait tout à l'heure.
Would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Il se passe quoi là? C'est inquiétant.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty.
Ok, là on va aller sur la meilleure, sur l'une des meilleures fins du jeu. Ah. Et ouais, on a gagné.
He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold?
Écoutez très bien la musique.
Sunlight streamed into the chamber. He realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness.
Non, je crois pas que ce soit cette fin.
Been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Ah si, c'est peut-être... Je ne touche plus le jeu. Je ne touche plus le jeu. Il marche tout seul. Hein. Il était heureux. Trophée obtenu, terminer le jeu. C'est la fin officielle du jeu. C'est la vraie fin du jeu. Ou en tout cas, la bonne fin. Parce que je crois pas que le jeu va s'arrêter sur ça. On a encore un milliard de trucs à découvrir. Petit jeu. Voilà.
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room. Life without having experienced this room was now too horrible even to consider.
Ok, on peut se barrer.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Non. Ah, là, voilà l'une des fins que je prévois. Une très bonne fin, elle aussi, qui est très marrante.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten
On va
off on a
revenir
wrong
ici.
foot here.
On reviendra ici,
I'm
ne
not
vous
sure
inquiétez
I
pas.
really
C'est pas
do.
fini.
I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Mais de qui parle-t-il?
That's her,
Ah,
Stanley.
la
You
fin
need
troll.
to be the one to do.
Ouais, faut attendre, il y a un chargement. C'est un peu gênant. C'est fortement gênant là. Ah, ça y est.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Je peux pas bouger.
Just
Hein.
right out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Ha 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 ha.
Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Attends, si je décide de me
Sorry,
barrer.
but you're in my story now.
Oh putain. Salut.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Quoi? Employé. Bonjour, employé 427, appuyez sur flèche du bas sur votre manette.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Ah, ça va redevenir notre bureau.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Tiens donc.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer. that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
On va l'écouter. Mais quand même, qu'est-ce que j'ai envie de le faire, hein. C'est un peu long. Le pire, c'est que je suis sûr qu'il fait exprès que ce soit long, juste pour qu'on appuie, tellement on se fait chier. Et après, il va dire non, mais putain, t'es con ou quoi, quelle heure. Mais je pense qu'on a un petit truc si on attend vraiment. On attend combien de temps? Je pourrais pas vous dire. Laissez-moi ça. Oh, bon, et puis merde. C'est bon, merde.
He's electing to kill himself. How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Veuillez appuyer sur rond pour ne rien remettre en question. Ah, carrément.
I suppose I can't. Not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time you'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Oh. Comment ça, veuillez mourir? Par contre. D'accord, donc on a eu une fin. D'accord. Pourquoi pas, après tout? Bah là on est fatigué. Bah oui apparemment. Attends, est-ce que je peux... Non. Je sais même pas s'accroupir, ça sert à quoi en fait?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
T'inquiète moi aussi. Ah bah je m'en doute.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
Voilà, on revient ici, sauf qu'on peut faire d'autres choses en venant là.
I realize that investing in your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side.
On va le laisser. Bon, vous comprenez que on va devoir revenir ici vu qu'on aura un deuxième choix. Mais là on va l'écouter. Cette fois-ci on va l'écouter. Mais on reviendra ici et on l'écoutera pas.
You see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time. The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running.
Ah, c'est vrai. Maintenant on est dans un carré infini.
I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I
Quel film tu prends? J'en prends pas.
Here, let me show you.
Rouge ou bleu? sais pas. Oula. Pilule rouge ou pilule bleue, je sais pas.
What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel
Je sais
happy.
Matrix, mais bon. Non, on peut pas tomber, d'accord. Tu les as jamais vus? Non, jamais. J'ai jamais vu Matrix. Pourtant, c'est sur Netflix, hein, je peux les voir, mais j'y pense pas. Et même quand j'y pense, bah j'ai la flemme. Du coup, je regarde pas. Puis même, c'est pas une saga qui m'intéresse vraiment. Bon, ça devient trop long et trop chiant.
No, wait. Where are you going?
Ah, c'est pour ça que t'as pas la ref. Si, je l'ai la ref. C'est juste que...
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Bon, bah on va le faire.
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley. No! Oh, thank God. You lived. You had me worried there for a moment. No, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this? There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy. We really can. If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving.
Bon, on va quand même crever. Parce qu'on a d'autres choix à faire. J'ai l'impression que le Stanley, il boite.
Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this.
J'ai envie de voir tous les dialogues possibles, en fait. Ok, il reparle pas si je reviens. Qu'est-ce que tu me dis si je repars? Je boite.
Do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you?
Ah bah oui, à chaque fin, en fait, on crève. Hein. Même s'il nous arrive rien de grave, on meurt. Ah!
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
On va quand même voir tous les dialogues possibles.
Perhaps you can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about. I know you'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you? No, perhaps not.
Ok, on va recrever. Oh putain, je boite tellement.
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You were literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
Pour voir, il se passe quoi si je redescends? Bon, il se passe rien. Désolé, narrateur.
Maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
On va retourner là-bas. Juste pour voir s'il part.
Do you actually want to stay alive? Or are you just teasing me?
Désolé, narrateur. Je suis tellement désolé. J'aurais dû me laisser crever dès le début en fait.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Oh le pauvre. Ça fait tellement mal au cœur. Ça fait tellement mal au cœur pour lui. Oh, ça fait 1 heure on est en stream. Putain. Allez.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ah, nouveau contenu. Bon, on va y aller.
New content? What does that mean? New content.
Je sais pas, on va voir. C'est peut-être le nouveau contenu du jeu du coup. Hein. Et du coup les nouvelles fins. Je sais pas, on va découvrir. Hein. Après tout. D'accord, donc on vient de terminer. Yes. Ah bah putain, c'était du rapide. Ah non, quand même pas. Non, ça fait référence à Half-Life 1 là.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh.
As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Bah allez, on y va, hein.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Bah j'espère.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere? Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious.
C'est vrai que c'est un peu relou.
Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Allez, Stanley.
All right, let's see it. The jump circle?
Ça pue la merde. Putain, il se passe quoi si j'essaie de me barrer? Non, faut continuer. je vais peut-être gagner un trophée. Hein.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jump. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And if... Oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's trophies, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test trophy, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Eh ben, je me la fais sans que je le veuille. Par contre, il a taclé EA, Activision, Ubisoft, Bethesda. Littéralement, ils ont taclé tous les développeurs, enfin toutes les autres entreprises de jeux vidéo. Il les a tous taclés là, en disant ouais, ils te font du DLC, il te faut une extension qui pue la merde et tout, blablabla. Bla, bla, bla. Oh, les décors ont changé. Intéressant. Ouais, sympa. C'est marrant.
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
On va pouvoir passer par là-bas alors tout à l'heure. Logiquement. Ouais. Que va-t-il se passer? Ah, voilà la suite.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it.
Ah, c'est vrai qu'on le
Just
voit dans
our
les images
little
du jeu.
secret. Take a look.
Putain, qu'est-ce qu'il nous a fait? Qu'est-ce qu'il nous a fait là?
I call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity.
Oh le bâtard! Wow, la dinguerie qu'il vient de lâcher, c'est énorme.
Back then, it all meant something. Oh, waste.
Le Steam de l'époque. les bons moments. Le premier dollar des développeurs, je suppose. Le jeu, la démo du jeu, c'est vrai que ça a commencé comme ça. Elle est toujours téléchargeable sur Steam d'ailleurs, si vous voulez y jouer. Voilà, Go Inside ne jouait pas au jeu pendant 5 ans. Les succès de l'époque. Il est impossible d'avoir ce succès. Bon, après ça, je sais pas si c'est vrai. Hein. Beaucoup de rêves. Bah, c'est un endroit de souvenir. Hein. Bon, ok, là, ils ont déjà un peu abusé quand même. C'est possible, hein, mais je crois pas. Allez. Oh, je voulais m'asseoir. Wesh.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Ok. Ah. On va monter. Stanley. Les images de développement du jeu. La salle. Le jeu de l'époque. Pourquoi il y a le drapeau? Ah non, c'est pas le drapeau
Here's
français.
another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games, and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the PlayStation, boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise.
C'est chiant, on peut pas passer. Ah, peut-être que... Non, c'était une genre d'optique, ok. Bon.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Wow. Ok, là ça devient inquiétant.
Oh no, oh God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games.
Ça critique fort.
I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion.
Ah
The
oui, en
narrator is
2018.
obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
C'est fort inquiétant ce qui se passe.
Okay, let's see what this one says.
2016.
While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley, I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy, honestly,
Ah, c'est les
you can.
postes sortis.
This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it, well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Yeah, what an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure, like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Ah. C'est triste, il se passe quoi là? J'espère tellement qu'ils vont faire une ref à Undertale. Je sais pas pourquoi, mais je l'espère tellement. On va dire ouais, Undertale c'était mieux.
You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening.
Pour le coup, il a raison.
A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable.
Oh, putain de merde!
It's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customers. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people, and if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something
On va le laisser parler un peu quand même.
The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, until 245. But the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been?
Je peux passer à n'importe quel instant, je tiens à le dire. Vous voulez que je passe?
And yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person? And in fact, do
Je
the very
passe ou
opposite.
pas?
You see, it could in fact be both of these things at once. That you are both making choices
Tant que j'ai
and
pas de
not
réponse, je
making
passe pas.
choices, and that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you
Ok,
both
je
are
laisse.
and are not making them. Okay, at first I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap a treatise label on this one. I think it has much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you say that manifesto just has a much grander sort of tone? It has a mouthful that is
Bon, ta
rich with
gueule, c'est bon,
English
t'es relou.
mystery.
Non, c'est bon.
Well, there, Spot. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute
C'est
I
marrant,
start to go off
effectivement.
on a faultless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. I
Ouais.
can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their pressurized gas review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on how exactly pressurized gas works. Perhaps that would have been a smart thing to check on before I went on about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is who runs pressurized gas will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit one's review merely because of this very situation. Yes, I think that's quite likely. Or perhaps they'll simply grant this particular user the ability to change their review so that the feature is not widely abused. Look, I would even be okay with pressurized gas altering this particular review so that it reads as something more benefit. From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of polity. How else to describe
Je pense que je vais regarder le stream de Fallout sur Stanley Parable dans quelques minutes, hein, quand il va le lancer à 20h. Je regarderai son stream, même si je vais me retaper tout ce que j'ai fait, c'est pas grave.
It is perhaps true to say that no mistakes are forever etched in stone.
Ta gueule!
Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last
putain,
one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and wait. How do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? I swear there was. Where did it go? Can you maybe just ram your way through a wall? Is there any possibility that you could, say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to leave? Please, I'll take any option at all. I'm asking you to work with me here. We need a door. We need a door of some kind. I can work with any kind of door as long as it can open and lead from one room to another. I'm going to step away for just a moment, and I'm going to try to find us a door. I don't know how exactly to remove a door and place it in a different wall, but I will find a way, I promise. You just need to not do anything. Don't press the skip button. Please, please, please do not press the skip button. Just wait here for me, and don't press the skip button.
Ok, on va l'écouter.
Yes, good.
On va l'écouter.
I'll be right back.
On va l'écouter, même si c'est assez gênant. Je suis sûr il y aura un truc. Putain, imaginez le bouton skip, il aurait pas, il serait plus là. Oh l'horreur. Ah, une alarme incendie. Bizarre. On va foutre le feu à l'endroit. Non, mais j'ai envie de passer, mais en vrai, je me dis comme quoi, si on passe pas, il y aura un truc. Oula. Je Je suis sûr il y aura un truc si on passe pas. Mais en même temps, j'ai tellement envie de passer parce que je suis pas patient. C'est tout, je suis pas patient, je suis un connard. Bon, bah désolé monsieur le narrateur, mais je ne le fais pas encore. Ah, tu as cru, petit salopard. J'ai tellement envie de faire recommencer le jeu, mais on va se retaper du coup tout depuis le début, ce qui serait affreux. Et vu comme on est bien avancé, on va pas s'arrêter. Hein. Bon, bah désolé narrateur, hein, mais... Hop, non, oh, ça compte pas. J'appuie pas sur le bon bouton. Ah. Bon allez, on va le faire pour de vrai. Désolé narrateur.
Stanley! Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every
Je pense que c'est peut-être fait exprès ou fallait vraiment attendre longtemps.
And there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here, and more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything in this room, Stanley. I can't touch it, and I have to believe. I have to know that sooner or later, no matter how much I plead with you, you're going to press the button again. Why would you? I've been thinking, and I don't know what I can do to convince you otherwise. Oh my God. And it's all because of those reviews. Those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so important for me to fix the problem? Why did Cookie Nine's opinion matter so much to me? I've never even met Cookie Nine. I have no idea who they are. What would it ever really matter? But here I am. I'm fixating on every tiny negative thing that anyone ever says about me. The merest
J'ai envie de passer. J'ai réellement envie de passer.
petulant as a child, wild and impulsive. I can't help myself.
Bon, on va
I can't
attendre un
stop
peu.
myself from lashing out with a vengeful fury to alter and to change and to break anything unbroken, if only it pleases this one person who made a single negative comment. What does such an impulse serve? For whose benefit is this? And here I am now, stuck in a room, waiting for you to press this button. To become frozen in time, knowing that you're going to do it, and that I'm going to be stuck all alone, and that I have the power to prevent it all from happening, if only I'd held my tongue. It's all out of my control now. Just you. Just your decision as to exactly when you're going to make me suffer, to leave me all alone. Surely you will. I don't doubt it. Surely you'll press that.
Ça me fait mal au cœur.
And surely you'll put your own desire to see what's next ahead of my need for company, for companionship. Surely you'll not be moved by my howls of fitful anxiety that you sit with me and just stay here. Oh, no, I know you too well. You'll be leaving me. Oh, my God. And it's all because of those reviews. Those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the...
Ok. Là, il allait repartir sur les mêmes dialogues. Du coup, forcément, je me barre. Logique. Combien de temps? Oh putain! Oh, 2 semaines. Oh le pauvre.
Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because
Bah genre il redisait ouais c'est à cause de ces critiques et tout. Après s'être plaint que à n'importe quel moment on va appuyer et tout. Bah vu qu'il faisait que de redire la même chose, forcément j'ai passé. Et maintenant ça fait apparemment 2 semaines qu'on était bloqués. Pour lui en tout cas, pour le narrateur. Pour nous ça fait 2 secondes. Bref, on écoute encore ce qu'il dit, hein. Enfin on lit surtout.
I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words that I'm saying, I need to know you can hear me. Because maybe, Stanley, maybe, if you can hear me, then maybe it means I'm real. Maybe I'm not just a fiction. Was I scared of that all along? Perhaps, yes. Perhaps I've been scared this whole time. But if I stop speaking, I'll slip backwards into the silence and be consumed by it. I can't be taken by it, Stanley. I can't lose myself in the stretch of emptiness between you and me. When you press that button, you're still right there, but I know you're so tremendously far away. And in those moments, the emptiness folds itself outward in between the two of us. And I am suspended in its unyielding quietness. I can feel the edges of my reality curdling inward and decaying. I can tell that I am becoming less and less real. Yet to speak to you now, I am alive. I am truly and completely...
Trop long. Combien de temps alors? On est carrément dans le noir.
You're here again, welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time, I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt
Ah oui, elle a pourri la plante. Elle est morte.
Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a collected heart. It was an impossibly rich wellspring of both delight and disgust simultaneously.
Ta gueule. Je me demande ça fait combien de temps qu'on est là. Ah bah oui, forcément il fait sa vie, ça doit faire plus d'un an là. Ça doit faire 3-4 ans. On va devoir attendre un peu de temps avant qu'ils reviennent parler. Je crois qu'il va plus revenir. Wesh. Ouf. Ce bruit est affreux. Attendez, je vais juste baisser le bruit parce que ça va être affreux sinon. C'est une principe. Non, quoique ça oui. Et le volume des effets sonores. Voilà, comme ça on entend très peu. Je pense qu'il faut le faire.
They didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley Parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person, every moment in time.
Fallait qu'il ferme sa gueule. Ou qu'il remarque qu'on était réveillé. Monsieur le narrateur, ouais, vous. Ah oui, carrément. Oh, mais il est mort là, le narrateur. Non, on peut pas. On va devoir passer encore un peu. La nature reprend ses droits, on va être dans The Last of Us. Trop bien. Plus il parle plus, je crois qu'il est réellement mort. Oh putain, il y a eu l'apocalypse. Ah mais là il est vraiment mort, où il s'est barré hein. Mon Dieu, mais il se passe quoi? Ah ouais, carrément. Oh. Une sortie. On peut passer? Non, on peut plus, ça y est. Sécheresse. Waouh. Oh. Ça y est, on a enfin eu la fin. Purée, qu'est-ce que c'était long. En même temps, c'était bien. Mais putain, qu'est-ce que c'était long. Ouf. Ah ouais. Ça a vraiment pris du temps hein, pour revenir là.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be.
Et là,
Stanley
le jeu
just
revient à
needed
la
to get to the
normale.
meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
New contenu. Ah, s'il y a un nouveau.
You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
On peut pas passer par là, d'accord. Bon, bah, on va aller ici. Donc, j'ai un nouveau contenu. Bon, bah, en attendant, hein, je vais quand même regarder quelques trucs sur mon téléphone. Parce que bon. Oula, j'ai des notifs Discord. Ah. Non, rien. Narrateur, tu me dis rien. Donc faut reprendre la
You
route.
see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable
Ah.
and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further.
Oula.
Which is why
On va voir les
I'm
crédits
very
du
proud
jeu.
to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
Wow. La fin n'est jamais la
Yes,
fin.
you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Bon, on n'a pas le droit d'aller là, d'accord.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than
C'est
Ultra
vrai.
Deluxe, don't you think?
C'est
Ultra
vrai.
Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
En mode on peut y jouer à 2 joueurs.
I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
New feature. Nouveau contenu. Non. Ah ok. Hop. Hop hop hop. Oup. The Stanley Parable 2. Bienvenue, va t'enculer.
Go on, try out some of the new features. An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, yes, it will go at the end of the... well, we'll figure that out later.
Pourquoi j'ai l'impression qu'on est à la fin? Enfin, après on n'a pas fait paramètres champion du monde, trou sans fond, trophée gratuit. Ah tu m'intéresses là. Ouais, un trophée gratuit. Ouais. J'ai peur.
Something special. You remember that broken test trophy that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the trophy. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the trophy will be given to you. It's as simple as that.
Sérieux?
Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is
Cette technologie est en cours de développement.
Right now, the trophy is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Vous savez que j'imagine tellement qu'on aura réellement un Stanley Parable 2. J'y crois réellement. Avec ce qu'ils viennent de nous faire là, j'y crois réellement. Je sais pas pourquoi, mais j'y crois. Pourquoi il y a une bagnole? Ouais, et puis on s'en branle. Chez moi, je le voulais mon trophée gratuit.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Collectible. Objet collectionné, cercle pour sauter. Allez, on va là.
Ah, collectibles.
Rape.
Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
C'est complètement con. Bon, on en a quand même 6 à trouver.
It really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic. You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh wait, you already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle?
Ah.
Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
D'accord. That's new. Bon, on va aller là-bas. Donc, quoi qu'on va peut-être faire le saut. Ça a l'air plus intriguant et plus intéressant en même temps.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right, infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Bon bah...
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do.
Et c'est là, j'imagine, on va dans le monde d'Undertale. Oh, le rêve. En mode, on devient frisque. Mais bon, tant pis. Mais bon, tant pis. Alors, où dois-je y aller? Où Avril? Ah bah ouais, mais Avril il est un peu... Paramètres champion du monde. Ça a l'air intéressant. Bon, tant pis. That's new. Bon bah on va aller là. Ah non, c'est pour parler de l'épilogue. Ah oui, mon nom.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Bon, tant pis, on peut pas les appuyer. Ah.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button. Yes, you see! What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button describes you. Do it again, do it again. Oh! It hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money.
C'est pas faux.
Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation. Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away. Otherwise, soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Bon. Il n'y a rien, je crois. Ah, attendez, ce truc, cette porte là-bas. plus. Bon, où dois-je y aller? Parce que là...
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable too. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
Please no screenshot.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Ah, ça veut dire que le 2 sortira dans 3 ans? Oh.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Bon. Ok.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Je devais aller où moi déjà? Ah oui, c'est vrai. Voilà, c'est bon. Bon, en plus c'était fermé. Bah voilà, on va profiter à y aller.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Bon bah allez, on va garder le saut, hein. Bien qu'il soit dégueulasse.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
C'est pas faux. C'est vrai, on a ce truc-là. C'est vrai que tout ça, ça fait partie des fins du jeu. Le bouton qui dit non, cercle pour sauter. Objet collectionné, trophée gratuit. Non, ça on a déjà été. Le trophée gratuit, on va aller voir. Pourquoi tout? En fait, ça fois j'ai envie d'arrêter, mais en même temps j'ai peur. Non. Donc là... Ah, peut-être que ce paramètre, on peut enfin le voir. Non, même pas. Est-ce qu'il faut que je pose le saut? Sûrement. D'accord, on n'a plus le droit. En fait, il y a tellement de portes qui n'ont pas été ouvertes, c'est assez rageant. Même là. Aucune porte ouverte. C'est bizarre. Ah. Pas tout. C'était où que je l'avais pris le saut déjà? Putain, j'ai oublié. C'est un labyrinthe cet endroit, c'est affreux. Ah non. Bon, bah on va recommencer parce que ça devient relou. À force de ne pas connaître la suite. Alors, quel jeu? D'accord. Attendez, il se passe quoi si je retourne au menu? Ok. Bah je pense que je chercherai d'autres fins à faire et que à la rigueur j'essaierai de refaire un stream ou des vidéos, ça dépend. Du coup, et bien voilà, si ce premier stream et sûrement même l'avant-dernier, hein, parce qu'il y a des chances que le prochain stream sera à la fin. Après c'est ça qui est chiant, c'est que je sais pas s'il y aura une fin, parce que vu que les crédits sont ici, je me dis qu'en soi on peut faire toutes les fins du jeu, il n'y aura pas de fin. Et c'est affreux. Bref. Moi je vous dis à bientôt et si ce stream vous a plu, je vous invite à liker, commenter, partager et surtout à vous abonner sur ce c'était les Coupa et puis moi je vous dis au revoir tout le monde.